Tonight on Edge in northern Alberta.
Hold on the camper.
Getting ready to get out.
Came back and put the camper on this truck and decided we're gonna go grab a campground for until this fire is either put out or under control.
As wildfire season hits hard.
Oh, tornado right now, tornado. We have a tornado on the ground.
Extreme weather puts millions at risk in the U.S. Midwest. We're tracking the latest severe storms.
It was really elation because this is very rugged terrain where they were lost.
And a frightening night stranded in the wilderness. 2 young children rescued in BC. Their dad's difficult decision to leave for help. This is The Net. The official start of summer may still be a month away, but already Alberta is in the grips of what is looking to be a costly and potentially dangerous wildfire season. Tonight, firefighters are trying to get a handle on 6 fires burning out of control, including this one in the northwest corner of the province. It has more than doubled in size since yesterday to nearly 700 square kilometers. More than 3,000 people have been ordered out, and a local state of emergency has been declared. And take a look at this fire danger map, the red showing where the risk is very high, the pink extreme. At least some good news today, though. People who live near the community of Marlborough were allowed to return home today. But as Rafi Boudjikanian reports, they're being told to keep their bags packed.
Hold on the camper.
Dustin Brown's been here before. He was in Fort McMurray when it had to deal with one of the biggest wildfires in Alberta's history 3 years ago. This time, he and his wife are packing in a hurry.
Even though they say, yeah, you're not on mass evacuation right now, but be ready. There's no risk taking here. They said that last time too. And look what happened in Fort Mac. I wasn't going to risk it, not with the kids, the wife, the dog.
The nearly 90 residents of Marlborough were forced from their homes last night. Today they were let back in but remain on notice. Georgina Gaucher is gathering her belongings but staying put.
If I'm going to leave, if they tell me to leave, I'll leave and leave everything, because this is only material things. Yeah. Our life, my children, grandchildren, they're the most important thing in my life.
Firefighters are trying to save it all, pushing back the flames as best they can, both near Marlborough and 5 other areas throughout Alberta, including the biggest fire so far, 8 hours north of Edmonton near High Level. It's been evacuated after a day residents there were put on alert, an example, officials say, of how fast things can change.
It's been hot and dry for quite some time now in northern Alberta, and strong winds like this are going to make fires that spread very rapidly.
Back in Marlborough, no need to tell the Browns twice.
It's still hard to accept the fact that it's happening all over again. It's a little more touchy right now. There's not much we can do, but we just kind of take it as it comes, and as long as we're together, that's all that matters.
Natural Resources Canada is telling Albertans there could be a significant number of fires this season, even if they can't predict whether the damage and disruption will be worse than normal. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Marlborough, Alberta.
So Rafi mentioned fire experts warning about the unpredictability when it comes to wildfires. Let's bring in our meteorologist, Brett Soderholm. And Brett, it sounds like there are basically 3 factors forecasters are looking at when it comes to predicting the fire season.
You're quite right. The first one, and rather intuitively, has to do with precipitation and what's called a precipitation anomaly. So in the case of Alberta, for example, over the past 3 weeks, there's been an anomaly, meaning a deficit of about close to 50 millimeters in some parts of the province, making it very dry. Then forecasters are looking at how much rain is going to be expected into the future, and similarly, using Alberta as an example, there isn't as much as normal, so this leads to a relatively dangerous situation in terms of wildfires. After that, we're going to be looking at how much soil moisture is available, because naturally a drier soil is going to be able to get sparked up by lightning or human causes much easier. And lastly, you've heard us talk about El Nino or La Nina. Well, these extreme weather patterns that take place all over the world are actually able to enhance the severity of some of these wildfires. So when you combine all of these activities going on across the world, that's how forecasters get their final result.
All right, Brett, thank you.
You're welcome.
And stand by, we'll come back to you in just a moment on another big weather-related story.
Sounds good.
Forecasting fire conditions is filled with uncertainty, but scientists at the world's largest fire lab are getting a better idea of how those wildfires behave. Kim Brunhuber takes us there.
The irony is obvious to almost everyone who works with fire. Humans may have been using it for more than 1 million years, but fire is still very much a mystery.
It is an enigma. It's extremely complex. This is the controller that controls how much propane goes in.
Torben Grumstrup is the man controlling the flames, obsessed with calculating exactly how they behave.
That helps us better understand the influences of these different variables, the size of the flame zone, the slope, the wind speed, these sorts of things.
Welcome to the Missoula Fire Sciences Lab in Montana, the largest of its kind in the world. Around every corner, scientists are burning things, watching, learning, then, once again, setting them on fire.
The results that we come to based on these experiments can be extrapolated to real world. That's called scaling.
What they discover here is used by other researchers and on the front lines. For Grumstrup, it's the definition of applied science. He used to be a firefighter himself. He hopes his research, like his work on how fast fire spreads uphill, will help keep firefighters safe.
If a firefighter sees some of my video of fire on a slope, that will stick in their mind so that the next time they are thinking about working above a fire, they'll think twice.
Around the corner, Jason Forthoffer lights one of the most unusual fires you'll ever see.
So there's no fans or anything going on here. This is all generated by the fire.
It's a tiny version of one of nature's most terrifying and least understood phenomena. A fire whirl, better known as a fire-nado. Last summer, Redding, California was hit with the most intense fire tornado ever recorded.
Really windy.
They form when rising heat and turbulent winds combine and hit a natural obstacle.
So if there's a fire burning on the lee side of that terrain obstruction, it can concentrate that vorticity and it can spin up to a fire tornado.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Experts say wildfires are getting more common and more intense, and the same will likely happen with fire tornadoes. This miniature version, like a fiery dust devil, allows Forthoffer to study how they form and how they move.
Hopefully we can provide firefighters with enough training to, as soon as they're forming, to get out of the way.
So while firefighters deploy out in the wildlands, an equally important battle is being waged in a lab in the dark with a fire that never ends. Kim Brunhuber, CBC News, Missoula, Montana.
Well, from fire tornadoes to the more conventional kind, extreme weather, a big story across a big swath of the United States tonight. Throughout the day, forecasters have been issuing urgent warnings about the risk of catastrophic tornadoes in parts of Texas and Oklahoma. More than 2 million people potentially in harm's way. The National Weather Service confirming a large and extremely dangerous tornado touching down in southwest Oklahoma, and these funnel clouds were seen forming over the state capital. A threat level of 5, and that is 5 out of 5, has been issued, and that means life and property are at risk. Well, let's bring back our meteorologist. And Brett, you've been warning us all day this extreme weather was coming. What made today so unusual?
Well, for me, first thing, I checked the Storm Prediction Center. They're the advisory board for the United States when it comes down to predicting how severe weather is going to be over the region. And for the first time in 2 years, they actually put a high risk out for places in both Texas and Oklahoma, which is just unusual. So it put me a little bit more on high alert. And when I went through the details myself and did my own forecasting, realizing that some of the ingredients that we're looking for when we forecast the severity of tornadoes, not only were they there, but they were actually in excess of the highest values that I had ever seen. So things like the available energy and how strong the winds were into the upper atmosphere.
And even by late afternoon, early evening, we were already seeing a number of tornadoes.
That's right. The day got off to a pretty active start fairly early on, and there have actually already been at least 2 confirmed tornadoes, one in Texas, one also in southwestern Oklahoma. And just looking at some of the footage of it is absolutely horrifying. Very strong tornadoes, strong rotation, and the situation is going to be spanning across multiple states throughout the rest of the night.
An unusual day, but Brett, this is tornado season in that area.
It is the peak season for the states of Oklahoma and for Kansas, so it's not unusual to see this toward the end of May.
All right, Brett, thank you.
You're welcome.
On to a story now that unfolded close to here in Vancouver. And imagine the agonizing decision faced by a parent. Lost in the wilderness with 2 young kids on a hike gone wrong. Do you stay with those children or leave them alone to go find help? Well, that's what a father faced in the mountains near the city last night. As Briar Stewart reports, today his difficult choice resulted in their rescue.
Rescuers described it as a miraculous outcome after what would have been a very long and agonizing night.
It was really elation because this is very rugged terrain where they were lost.
The entire ordeal began yesterday. A father went out hiking with his 6-year-old daughter and 7-year-old son. They were in a densely forested area known for bears, about 45 minutes east of Vancouver. They're from the U.S. and ended up getting off the trail and falling down a creek drainage ditch. At that point, the dad had to make a tough decision. The terrain was steep. There was no cell phone coverage. It was getting late, so he gave his children some warm clothes and told them to stay put. He hiked out more than a kilometer until he got cell phone service and called for help. Teams searched through the night and finally found the children this morning.
Kids did what they were supposed to do. They stayed put, and they were invisible, pretty much like a rock. They were hiding underneath a gray sweatshirt.
They were then roped in and transported to a waiting ambulance and the relieved father. Rescuers said the kids were wet, cold, and hungry, but otherwise fine. Officials say the lesson is to make sure that if you're heading out, to leave a trip plan and tell others what time you'll be back.
If a trip plan had been left here, perhaps the father would have been able to stay with the kids and someone else would have phoned us for help. You're always better if you're hiking in a party to keep the party together rather than split it up.
But in this case, there was a happy ending. After a long, cold night, the family was reunited. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Vancouver.
Donald Trump is declaring victory in his trade dispute with Mexico and Canada. His administration telling U.S. farmers they are the winners. But as Ellen Morrow tells us, the ongoing battle with China may spoil the celebration.
Man, this is a lot of people.
As tariffs fall between Canada, Mexico, and the U.S., President Trump took a victory lap.
We have saved America. We made America great again, and we're going to keep America great. That's what it is.
Canada's tariffs targeted U.S. farmers. But even with the tariffs now lifted, those farmers are still set to struggle as some of the biggest losers in Trump's trade war with China.
China is our main customer for soybeans, and they're not buying.
Farm bankruptcies in the Midwest are up, crops are stockpiled with nowhere to go, and anxiety is rising.
The issues now really got a lot of farmers discouraged. Well, we're all being affected. Everybody is really getting drained on their financial resources.
President Trump has offered a positive spin on Twitter, writing, "Our great patriot farmers will be one of the biggest beneficiaries of what is happening now," and incorrectly describing tariffs as massive payments being made to the United States. But the president is concerned enough that his administration is offering bailout packages to farmers that could total $30 billion.
These are the items that we've had to raise prices on.
Okay. And there's a lot more items than just these.
A lot more items than just these.
The tariffs aren't only hurting farmers. At this hardware store, prices have gone up on more than 3,000 products.
It's painful. Our customers come in and they see the higher prices and they don't fully understand why.
The president's positive messaging is all about 2020. Farmers are an important part of his base. He needs to reassure them along with American consumers. Meanwhile, efforts to reach a deal with China continue. Ellen Morrow, CBC News, Washington.
Another source of tension between the U.S. and China, smartphone giant Huawei. Google says it will prevent the Chinese tech company from using its Android operating system and popular apps like YouTube and Google Maps. As Jacqueline Hansen explains, the change comes after the U.S. government blacklisted Huawei over national security concerns.
In Huawei's biggest market, most Google services are already banned by the Chinese government. But elsewhere, where Google and its Android operating system are popular, Huawei devices rely on it.
I would use Google Maps anymore, so for that reason I won't buy Huawei.
Future Huawei phones could be cut off from all Google services. The U.S. government is forcing companies to cut ties with Huawei unless they get special approval. It has accused the company of espionage. But a spokesman for China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs says the U.S. is trying to spread rumors and smear other countries' enterprises.
Huawei needs this to be resolved really, really quickly to make sure it doesn't lose all of that great momentum it's got in the marketplace, that has got it to be #2 worldwide right now and a clear aspiration to be #1.
After the company was blacklisted, Huawei's CEO told reporters that it doesn't engage in spying, and he hinted at the possibility of pulling out of the U.S. The tech giant may not need Google either. It's working on its own operating system.
So it may be that paradoxically it's Google that ends up more harmed, because Huawei is absolutely huge in developing countries and with young users.
But it could also further shake confidence in Huawei at a time when governments around the world are trying to decide whether to allow its next generation 5G technology, or ban that too. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Toronto.
Here's some of the other stories we're following tonight. The leader of Britain's Brexit party, Nigel Farage, has become the latest target of a messy assault by a protester. Farage was hit by a milkshake while campaigning for European Parliament elections today. The attacker was arrested and told the British media that he has no regrets. People were heard laughing as Farage walked away. The anti-EU leader wasn't just upset with the protester, he was heard scolding his security detail, calling the incident a complete failure. Recently, a number of other right-wing candidates have had milkshakes thrown at them. An on-ramp to the country's busiest highway was shut down this morning for about 5 hours, and the driver of this truck charged with careless driving after his vehicle rolled over as he tried to exit Highway 400 onto the 401. 2 people in the truck suffered minor injuries. Still ahead on the National, Arnal Ayed is in India, where both critics and supporters weigh in on the man poised to return to power. And later, Adrian Arsenault sits down with award-winning photojournalist Lindsay Addario to talk about experiences in war zones.
For me, it was nothing compared to what the women that I documented went through, but I did sort of turn to them for a source of strength.
New York City. When Canadians come here to show what they can do, it's usually to places like Lincoln Center, Carnegie Hall, and Broadway. Now, a lot of them will be coming to Soho and Lower Manhattan as well. Soho is a kind of mecca to another kind of artist, the visual artist. And thanks to our federal government, they'll soon be given the chance to display their work in one of the most prestigious addresses here of all. 420 West Broadway, home to some of the world's most famous contemporary art galleries. Competition for any exhibition space in Soho is always tough, and unknown artists have a hard time breaking through. The government hopes this experimental project will help make Canadian artists much better known.
I was a bit frustrated by the fact that Canadian visual arts were bypassed so often.
Guy Plamondon, Canada's cultural attaché in New York, came up with the idea and managed to secure the space, which he's called the 49th parallel.
What we had to show was mostly contemporary in Canada. After all, our culture is not as old as the British, the French, the German, or the Italians.
420 West Broadway receives up to 6,000 visitors every Saturday and a steady stream of people through the week. The first show is by Michael Snow, probably the best known of Canada's contemporary artists. It was designed to bring attention to the gallery fast. Future plans call for experimental film screenings and a documentation center for Canadian art. The gallery will cost about $70,000 a year to rent, but the government thinks that's a bargain.
It may be that museums or gallery owner will have a better understanding of Canadian art after a few years.
New York is probably the most important center for contemporary art in the world, but Canada is the first country to open up a gallery specifically to promote its own contemporary artists. If it's successful,
Other countries seem sure to follow. John Greer, CBC News, New York.
Voting in India's national election, the biggest Democratic vote in history, came to an end yesterday. The results are expected on Thursday. But exit polls suggest the incumbent Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, is likely to return to power with an even bigger majority. Modi's supporters are rallying behind a man who projects power on the world stage, promoting a Hindu-first India. But critics say he's capitalizing on fear, driving an even deeper wedge between his Hindu nationalist base and the country's Muslim minority. The CBC's Nala Ayed is in New Delhi tonight with a look at a polarizing leader.
More than mere prime minister, Narendra Modi is an idea, an election manifesto. Statesman, candidate, and slogan all in one. And 5 years later, he can still pack them in. His supporters fall. The bluster, the 56-inch chest, and 300 meters from his residence, they can't get enough of his face. We want a strong leader, not a weak one, says Abhishek Singh. For us, Modi is actually a tiger. Modi preferred Chodikar, or security guard, after a February suicide attack in Kashmir led him to order airstrikes on Pakistan.
He is a veteran campaigner. He knows what works, what doesn't work.
But if, as many here believe, the election was a referendum on Modi, then in the Khan household, the vote is an emphatic no. Jabuna Khan's husband was lynched by so-called cow vigilantes, who have increasingly used violence, often against Muslims, to protect the sacred Hindu symbol. Someone actually filmed while Khan and his son were beaten. Their crime, buying and then transporting dairy cows to his farm. Khan died 2 days later. Jabuna Khan wants justice. I can't say how this happened, she says. I've never seen this before. Now we're in such a bad situation. To blame, say critics, is the country's nationalist mood under Modi, testing the secular vision its founders had intended, but also boosting his prospects. Exit polls, which aren't official, suggest the coming of Modi 2.0. He predicted it here last week. It was at his first press conference in 5 years, and he took no questions.
So this is the map as of 2014.
In those 5 years, asking questions has made life harder for some journalists, like those at The Wire. Their story about the rising fortunes of the BJP president's son since Modi became prime minister earned them a lawsuit. They've got some 14 others pending.
There is a sense in which democratic institutions have been weakened, democracy feels imperiled. We all feel constrained in one way or the other.
The original populist among today's world leaders can be both divider-in-chief, as Time magazine put it, and the incorruptible son of a tea seller. Nothing if not polarizing.
He's unsettled the status quo in terms of that there was a certain elite which was running the country, and he has unnerved them. He has disturbed a lot of cozy relationships and networks which have been there.
The tone of the past 5 years has colored Ashok Bhowmik's art.
We have never gone through such a phase of hatred.
It's also pushed him to street protest and to sign a letter urging people to vote Modi out.
That action is very much required. Alone painting would not do. Alone writing would not do.
Challengers had pinned their hopes on this election and will wait until Thursday for final results. But believers in Modi 2.0 are preparing for a celebration. The next prime minister will lead India in marking 75 years of independence as a secular, strikingly diverse country. This is an election that some call a battle for India's soul. Nala Ayed, CBC News, New Delhi.
And consider the logistical challenges of the Indian election, with 900 million eligible voters spread across the vast country. Every vote is entered into one of these voting machines. 11 million government workers responsible for getting those machines to even the most remote area. And the cost of the election? $9.5 billion. Still ahead on The National, sometimes the pictures tell the story better than words. Our interview with a war photographer about capturing the images that can be hard to watch.
And I was furious, and I said, you know, how dare you send me to Fallujah if you don't even have the guts to publish what I'm seeing.
My name is Jordan Bennett. I'm Mi'kmaq from Damcook, now known as Newfoundland. And I'm a visual artist. I work in a lot of mediums, including painting, sculpting, performance, and traditional Indigenous tattoo revival. So a lot of times I create a work and I might think that it might look great as a painting, and then the next thing you know, I'm doing it as a sculpture or I'm doing it as a performance. I usually let the idea kind of do whatever it needs to do. So I have a couple pieces in the exhibition at the Winnipeg Art Gallery as part of an Insurgence Resurgence. One of the pieces is a collaboration with fellow artist, Indigenous artist Dee Barcy, and we created each a painted mural element that exists in two places. One on a building on Broadway in Winnipeg, and the other version of it is a reproduction of that piece, which is on the outside of the Winnipeg Art Gallery. A lot of the quill work that I'm referencing, I really enjoy putting them in the public view. Take them out of a museum context, which is a lot of times where we see a lot of these pieces now. I was not expecting this. I did not expect to walk into the room and see this piece. The first time I ever saw this piece was in a book wrote by Ruth Holmes Whitehead, and seeing this, it's kind of like seeing a painting that you've loved your entire life, but then you see it in person and it just kind of rattles your skull a little bit. I think the only way to learn more about these things is to actually spend time with them. Because I feel like the longer you spend time with something or someone or some place, the more you learn about it, and the more you learn about them or yourself. So this piece is just next level. When I create an artwork that's larger than life, like quill work, and I blow it up, it does confront you, and it does make you question the history, and it's more in your face. A lot of times folks see them and they think that they're these, you know, contemporary artworks in a sense, you know, like that's how they exist and that's all they are. But there's so much embedded history of the designs that are based on landscape, stories and journeys that have taken place for hundreds and thousands of years on this land in Mi'kmaq. Another piece that I'm a part of in the exhibition is alongside of fellow artists Amy Malbuff and Dion Kaz, called Earthline Tattoo Collective. With the assistance of the Winnipeg Art Gallery, we created a tattoo shop within the art gallery itself, and it was a wonderful experience to share the methods of traditional Indigenous tattooing through hand poke and skin stitch. I think that the work that I'm trying to do is a way of continuing, and also a way of paying homage and honor to the artists and artisans that came before and allowed these forms to exist in the world, you know, like they created them. And to be able to add to that dialogue using new materials like zip ties, or through murals, or through a variety of contemporary materials that I have access to, I think is a way of reawakening a lot of these designs that have been sleeping for a while.
It has been 9 months since we lost the Queen of Soul. Now, Aretha Franklin's lawyer says 3 handwritten wills have been found in the late singer's home, including one under cushions in the living room. The latest one, dated March 2014, appears to leave all of her assets to family members. Franklin's lawyer filed the wills in court today to determine which is valid. Another migrant child has died in the custody of U.S. Border Patrol agents. The 16-year-old boy from Guatemala was found unresponsive this morning. Cause of death not yet known. He was taken into custody last week. U.S. Customs and Border Protection says it will conduct what it calls an independent and thorough review of the case. This teen, the 5th migrant child to die in U.S. custody since December. You may have seen her work, but you probably don't know her name. Celebrated war photographer Lindsay Addario has had an extraordinary and dangerous career covering some of the most violent places in the world. Our Adrian Arsenault had a chance to talk with her about why she does it and why she thinks it's important, especially now, to do this kind of work. And a warning, this story does contain some graphic images.
Do not call Pulitzer Prize-winning war photographer Lindsay Addario an adrenaline junkie. She's not. Don't call her fearless. She's not that either. What she does is terrifying, and it does scare her. The searing scenes she shoots sometimes make her cry so much she cannot see behind her lens. But she goes back to the front lines, to famines, because, as she wrote in her memoir, it's what I do.
4 New York Times journalists were held captive.
Even after being kidnapped twice in Libya and Iraq, after being assaulted and traumatized, it's still what she does.
They are all home safe now.
But there's a question in this era, when the powerful tell lies and make people doubt, how much does the work of a witness matter? She happens to think it matters more now than ever. So she spent some time with us in the National Studio to talk of the costs of opening eyes. Welcome to the National.
Thank you.
We've tried to decorate the place a little bit for you.
Wow, it's amazing.
As hard as it is to look at them, can you hear any of these? Like, are the sounds of any one of these really loud in your head?
I mean, Libya, for sure.
This one up here?
Yeah. And Korangal,
That's Afghanistan?
Yeah, that's in Afghanistan, so that's 2007.
And what are you hearing when you look at that?
I mean, that's right after an ambush. So we were hit from 3 sides by the Taliban, and it was just cracking, you know. So there was the wailing and moaning, and that's a funeral for Mama Cisse. She was a young woman who bled to death during pregnancy, during childbirth.
And a completely normal pregnancy.
Yeah.
Right?
She was pregnant with twins, delivered the first baby in the village, and the second baby wouldn't come out. She had to take a canoe across a river after having just delivered the first baby, and then like about 6 hours over bumpy roads in an ambulance to get to the hospital. That's when I met her. And I photographed the delivery of the second baby, and then she started bleeding, and no one, like the midwives were just sort of mopping up the blood and saying, oh, it's normal, it's okay. And
but you knew.
I knew something was wrong. So I actually ran to try to find the doctor, the one doctor in the whole province. And he was in surgery, and I went into surgery. I put on scrubs, I went in. I said, I think this woman's dying. And he said, well, I'm busy. And I went back, and they picked her up and carried her to him, and she died. Yeah.
That scene didn't just rattle Addario. It touched nerves in important places. Time magazine put out an 8-page spread that caught the eye of the pharmaceutical company Merck, which then put aside $500 million to fight maternal death. That's making a difference with a photograph, but it doesn't always work that way. These are American soldiers.
Correct. So this is during the Battle of Fallujah. So this is in November of 2004. And there were so many wounded American Marines coming out of the Battle of Fallujah that they cleared out the inside of a cargo aircraft and literally flew them on the floor of the plane, and they were all seated on the walls. And this is how they were flown to Ramstein in Germany for treatment.
I don't know that Americans had really seen pictures like this.
They had, I don't think they had. I had never had access like this. And this was for Life magazine. So we got this incredible, unprecedented access. And Life held the photos through the re-election of Bush. And my photo editor said, my feeling is the editor-in-chief doesn't think the American public can handle seeing these images. And I was furious. And I said, you know, how dare you send me to Fallujah if you don't even have the guts to publish what I'm seeing. And so luckily, I called the New York Times Magazine and they published them.
But that's why you take a picture like that,
course,
right?
Of course. I mean, yeah.
The moments she captures don't leave Addario. Sometimes the faces of people at their lowest have ended up being the ones she sees in her mind when she's in trouble.
Photographer Lindsay Addario was one of them. The group was beaten and threatened with death.
That was certainly the case in March of 2011. Addario was with Anthony Shadid, Tyler Hicks, and Stephen Farrell when they were grabbed by Muammar Gaddafi's men, kidnapped, beaten, and moved around. Addario knew enough about the sexual violence women face to fear the worst.
I've heard the stories, I've heard the testimonies that I've heard of women in the Democratic Republic of Congo, women in Darfur. You know, I feel like I got off easy. I mean, these are women who were raped, they were gang raped. Their stories are horrific. And so for me in Libya, you know, over the time of our kidnap, I was touched, I was groped, I was, you know, tied up, blindfolded, beaten up. But for me, it was nothing compared to what the women that I documented went through. But I did sort of turn to them for a source of strength in the middle of the kidnapping in Libya. Like, I remember one night we were in prison and we were all terrified. We had no idea how long we would be held for and what they would do to us. And I remember thinking to myself, you know, if those women in Congo and Darfur can hold their head up and do this, I can get through this. And I just kept telling myself, like, I can do it. And that's sort of, they were really a source of strength for me.
And when you went home, you got pregnant.
I did. When I came home from Libya, I was still ambivalent because I think as a woman, a professional woman, especially a woman in this job where we travel all the time, you know, it's very hard to figure out what life will look like as a mother. And so I didn't really have any role models at that time. I didn't know any other photographers, war photographers, who were mothers. And so I was terrified. You know, I was terrified to sort of go down that path. And I remember just turning to my husband and saying, forget it. Like, we need to start life. Like, I've had enough of death and I can't do this right now. And I got pregnant, like, right away.
Life got better and work didn't stop, but the world changed a bit, and the urgency to bear witness at times feels even more acute. Is it getting harder or easier to make an impact with images in this climate?
Harder, I think.
Why?
Because we're so bombarded with images and we're so bombarded by social media, by violence, by blood. You know, I don't think an image has to be graphic to be powerful. I think an image has to be subtle, but it has to tell a story. And I think, you know, we see so many images every single day that most people, they don't pay attention anymore. I think people's attention span is just almost nothing.
And I wonder, does it drive you even more?
Yes, it drives me even more because I think, you know, we have a president in America who says journalists are the enemy of the people. He says fake news, everything is fake news. He lies basically every day of his presidency. And I think it's really important as a journalist to show the importance of journalism with integrity, the importance of being there, the importance of calling out leaders around the world who lie. And so, you know, I covered Darfur for 6 straight years, and there was a case where I was in Chad, and there had been a massacre of government soldiers. And President Bashir went on TV and he said, you know, that didn't happen, no government soldiers were killed. And we went to the border and found a truckload of rebels and said, like, hey, did this happen? And they said, yes. And we said, well, can you take us? And they were like, well, it's super dangerous. There are Antonovs flying overhead and they can bomb, you know. And we were like, look, we have to see it to report on it for the New York Times. And we went, and there were bodies clear across the desert. And that picture was on the front page of the New York Times. And you know, when you have a picture as proof, you cannot lie. You know, the fundamental fact that a photographer has to be there is really important at this time in history.
It is the curse of the world right now that there are a lot of troubled places she needs to go to next. South Sudan, maybe Yemen. It's our great fortune there's a Lindsay Addario ready to be there.
Next on The National, helping young patients put a brave face on their time in hospital. How clowning around can actually be the best medicine.
Do you want me to go easy on you, or do you want me to go extra hard? Well, we're letting me win, so easy.
One of the things I really enjoy about walking into these mall outlets is, you know, all of the light, all of the flashy advertisement, these signs and everything. But when I walk through these stores, it's not very often that I just go in, I'm like, hey, I'm just going to look for a shirt. It's not as fun as it used to be when you started to look at the psychology of consumerism. My name is Ursula Johnson, and I'm an interdisciplinary artist based out of Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. With this work for the Winnipeg Art Gallery, I really wanted to focus on the idea of the conversations that have happened already, initiated by Indigenous female performance artists. Shelley Nero, Rebecca Belmore, Laurie Blondeau, and Cheryl Larondel, for instance. And I thought, well, what if we play with that idea of like fashion photography with regards to like consuming the female body? There has always been this, this notion of the exoticized Indigenous female body. When Disney came out with Pocahontas, she was like this beautiful, glossy, young Indigenous woman that's like, she can sing, she's beautiful, she speaks with the tree. So it was like this notion of stereotype perpetuation. But if you looked at like the actual structure of her body, in that animation, it was very, kind of like this Barbie doll-like body where it was like, nobody really looks like that. I commissioned a local photographer in Halifax by the name of Steve Farmer, and I went shopping. And they would ask me, can I help you with something? I'd say, actually you can. I'm wondering if you have anything Indian in your store. Something appropriated from like Native American culture, maybe something with beads, feathers, and fringes. And then I held a little fashion shoot. And then I took text that I had requested from those 4 Indigenous female performance artists. I asked them to write a response to kind of the topic of the commodified Indigenous female body. And so some of the quotes that they gave me were maybe memories they had from conversations with people, or some of them were their own words of trying to break down those notions of those stereotypes. So I was looking at the notion of that space between the text of these words of these Indigenous female artists and then my body. And so that was where the title Between My Body and Their Words came for this commission for the Winnipeg Art Gallery. Looking at those ideas of consuming this female body, especially at this time when we're experiencing like a national crisis with regards to Indigenous women who are missing and murdered all across this country, and other countries are all over the world as well. There's not any real like super engaging critical conversations. Nobody thinks about that because it's the Indigenous body who has been kind of like pushed aside and brushed under the rug as, the role of the, well, you're supposed to be here and, not be seen or not be heard type of thing, unless we want to sexualize your body. Then we'll put you at the forefront.
Your inbox needs more Canada. Get a weekly collection of fascinating stories, fun facts, and intriguing trivia with the CBC newsletter. Subscribe now and get the best of Canada.
Long hospital stays can be hard on anyone, but for children, they can be particularly depressing, isolating, and stressful. So for more than 25 years, Toronto's Sick Kids Hospital has been helping them cope by sending in therapeutic clowns. Jamie Snedden has played the part of A. Laboo for 12 years, and he's become a celebrity in the hospital. He recently took us behind the scenes to show us how the program works.
If it is 11 o'clock, then it must be time for story time! Squirrels!
In the hospital, it's basically like being in prison.
Aw, shucks.
It's definitely depressing.
Oh.
Sometimes there's like dark days.
If you're happy and you know it, do all three. Hooray! If you're happy.
That's what clowns do. They help you get through the hard times.
And you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, do all three.
Hooray! Hey.
Anybody here?
Yeah?
May I come in?
Mm-hmm. Hello.
Do you want to play Uno?
Sure.
Okay. Cheating or no cheating?
No cheating.
No cheating. There are, at any given time, probably 300 kids here at the hospital, just inpatient. We should at least pretend that we get along a little bit. Just a little. We'll pretend we get along a little bit. Okay. Everybody needs play, and they need friendship. And when kids are here, they are removed from some of the things, some of those opportunities in their life.
That's swap hands.
Oh, I forgot that. And so what a clown can do is come in and become their ideal playmate.
Do you want me to go easy on you, or do you want me to go extra hard?
Well, we're letting me win, so easy. Uno.
You know what? You asked for it. Pick up 2.
In the most basic way, we are unthreatening friends who come to their room and don't ask anything of them.
Thank you. And I damn.
Wow.
Okay, hi.
Nice. Thanks.
I've been here for about 3 months, right? 3 months. Soon it's gonna be 4 months.
Go.
Sometimes I have nausea, dizziness. It means my body just shuts down. The first time I met Ayla Boo is when we came for a clinic visit and we started hanging out.
Look, we got new ones.
I know.
We got the ones you like. The ones that are...
You know, like sometimes the day is lonely, but they come in and brighten it up.
They're very elasticy.
You can't control everything that happens in the hospital, and there's just times that have not been easy for Colum, and as a parent you feel kind of helpless, and then a clown walks into the room and his face changes and his attitude changes, and maybe a procedure he didn't want to do literally 5 minutes beforehand, he's now more comfortable doing.
Okay, thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
And that's invaluable when you're a parent that's here 24/7, maybe at the end of their rope, then he comes in and just it changes everything.
Toodaloo, kangaroo.
Stay sweet, parakeet. Hello, my friend. Are you coming to the TV show today? Hi, Aiden. Welcome, welcome. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Ready?
Oh, phew. That was a good one. I was first introduced to the work through a story done on local TV about a visiting clown to sick kids. Let's see who's on the phone. Hi, who's this? And I thought, wow, that's something I think I'm supposed to do. Did you hear us sing happy birthday to you?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Every Thursday we do a craft show, broadcast live to the hospital so kids can choose to watch it. Have you received any presents yet?
Not yet.
Not yet, not yet, saving up. A lot of the time kids can't leave their rooms. Either they're in isolation precautions, they are just not feeling well enough to leave their room, whatever the case may be. This allows us to create community for them. Perfect. Thank you, Eliza. Bye. You made this one too, right? That's for Dada? Okay. It's beautiful. Kids get a bag of just random craft supplies, and integrated into that were medical things like a mask or gloves or, you know, the pee cups. We have here the pee cup and we have here a quarter. The point of that is to sort of bring these hospital things to demystify them, make them not so daunting. Abracadabra.
You put it in the other hand. Yes. Found it.
What? Ah. Nice. Good job. Cool.
No, it's our turn to hide.
I think there's a misconception that it's always just like really nice, nicey nice, and it's like sickly sweet, and it doesn't have to be, because kids need all different kinds of friends. 3, 4.
Ready.
They need someone who can be competitive with them. Is it in there? It's not in there. Who can throw things back and forth between each other and kind of have that fun too. Ah! See you later, alligator.
Tomorrow you're here.
Oh man, we should have done more bubbles before he left again.
Yes.
Can you do the magic? Thanks.
Yeah, you get them. Let's get them. Wow.
This work is all about connection. It's all about being empathetic and being open to take this stuff on. If I don't feel affected by someone else's pain or another family's struggles, then I shouldn't be doing the work. Oh, this book is coming to catch the bubbles.
That book has an arm. And a giggle.
And a giggle. The first child who I had a really close connection with who passed, and I had to run from the critical care unit to an office, and I was crying before I got back to the door. And I cried quite hard. I wept. I was very affected by it. Are you ready for battle? Okay. Oh, nice. Oh, I got one inside. I got one inside your mask. I don't think I'm less affected by it now, but there is more positive that I experience than the negative. Your mom's trying to stay out of it, but she knows she can't do that. Every family we meet, you get to see how they persevere. You get to see how they come together as a family. Right on the top of the mask.
Clown program helps a lot, not just for him, but for his siblings and myself. He was born with a congenital heart disease and ended up getting a heart transplant at 14 months of age. So he's been here lots, and that's why he loves it when the clowns come. Loves it. It's just like a highlight of his day. He can hear them coming down the hallway, and it's just like emotionally gives me a good break too, right? Just to see him happy. Kind of just as a mom, like it reminds me of, you know, the good times, so.
I'm so happy when the boo comes here. Because he plays with me. Protection.
Oh, nice. A shield, a force field. Nobody wants to be here, but we try to make it a little more tolerable, a little more fun. Thank you for letting me come to play. May I come back again another day? Just to be that little bright spot to look forward to. Out the door, dinosaur. Gotta go, buffalo. Toodaloo, kangaroo. Take care, panda. It's pretty rewarding. Bye-bye, butterfly. As you wish, jellyfish. In the dark. I feel like it's what I'm supposed to do. That's all I got. Hasta mañana, my friendly iguana. Well, that could be its own looper. Nice. All right, see you later.
Here's a look at a story we've been working on, caring for elderly couples in Sweden and just how far they go in that country to keep people together.
What in Canada is normal is almost unheard of in Sweden. Life here seems calmer. The people content. Nancy and Tolston certainly are.
What would it mean for you at this stage in your life to not be together?
Jag skulle inte känna mig lugn om jag var hemma och Torsten var här på samma sätt som. Och jag tror det skulle betyda ännu mer för Torsten. att vi får vara tillsammans.
Could Canada have something to learn? That's coming up tomorrow on The National.
It's opera night at the Community Hall in Namao, Alberta. Tonight's featured artists, Ron and Diane Nelson. This operatic duo first teamed up while studying at the Royal Conservatory of Music in Toronto. They performed with the Stratford Festival and toured with the Canadian Opera Company. Diane was a regular on television shows like Wayne and Schuster and Juliet. For the folks who live in this farming community north of Edmonton, tonight's concert is a welcome escape from their workday world. Tomorrow, they'll be back to the barns and tractors once more.
Did you ever see that letter with the sound, those 5-pounders? No.
And that goes for Diane and Ron, too.
Great. Yeah. We got 3 gilts in there that should have powered yesterday. Let's go and have a look.
They trade evening clothes for coveralls and head for the hog barn. The Nelsons gave up full-time music careers about 27 years ago when they got married.
How you doing, baby? Oh, aren't you sweet?
Yeah,
Ron brought Diane from Toronto to the farm where he grew up. Going from Puccini to pork chops was quite a change, but neither of them has any regrets.
We're gonna have some babies today.
Was it a painful decision, a difficult decision for you?
No, it was painful to leave my home and my family and my friends in Toronto, but no, not at all. I jumped in with both feet.
I think those kind of decisions are probably easier when you're younger. When you start thinking about settling down and perhaps raising a family, you see the problems or the difficulties of stability in that showbiz life. A year or 2 after we got married and we're living out here, and we got a phone call from Lou Applebaum, who had conducted our tour from Stratford to New York, and they were doing a North American tour, wanted to know if we'd join them. And we, of course, Diane was pregnant and I was up to here in a job, and we had to say no. And so that...
We were sorry, but
yeah,
those have been the decisions.
They both work on the farm, but the hog barn is mostly Ron's domain. He feeds his 900 pigs and cleans their pens twice a day. And once in a while, this pig farming Pavarotti serenades his sows.
It's only second best to a shower to sing in the barn with all that wood around. You feel like you're Caruso.
And nice audience.
Yeah, and an attentive audience, yes.
Do they really like it?
Oh, yeah.
Pigs?
Oh, they really do, yeah.
Se vuol ballare, signor Contino. Se vuol ballare, signor Contino.
Look at the heads come up. Isn't that neat? I told you. You give them a little song yourself. Sure. Sing? Yeah, sure.
Well, home, home on the farm, where the pigs are happy all day. No, they don't like that, but
more voce, more voice.
Voce?
Voce.
Oh, voce. Where seldom is heard. Ooh, they don't like that at all. No.
Unbelievable! History has repeated itself!
Get the stories behind the glory. Watch, listen, stream, read CBC Sports.
So what could be more appropriate as a moment on this Victoria Day than some footage of the royals in their garden this weekend? It's not just any garden these kids are playing in. George, Charlotte, and Louis helped their mother, the Duchess of Cambridge, create the so-called Back to Nature garden, unveiled this weekend. Kate co-designed the space with landscape artists, part of her charity work on early childhood development. And the garden will open to the public tomorrow. And you know who wishes she was here to have a conversation? The post-moment conversation is our resident royal expert among the hosts, Adrian. I feel that we'll get another opportunity in the coming days. Thank you very much for watching The National on this Victoria Day. Bye-bye.